This is Herald-Times sports editor Chris Korman here in the newsroom. Late-ish Wednesday night. Not bad. Here with Dustin Dopirak, our beat writer. I'm letting him be in the screen this time. Got a lot of grief for that last time.
I was cut off. I was cut in half.
I'd like to officially apologize, Dustin.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Practice today.
Yep.
You were there. What'd you see?
I was there.
I was too.
There
Nice
was a lot
day.
of red zone work. It was a nice day.
Ton of red zone work.
Ton of red zone work. You saw a couple plays. I think Willis run the first team D. Pretty good. He looked effective down there, and that's one thing. Looking back, they didn't really use him that much. I mean, he did score on the 11-yarder the one time, and the first goal from the 3. Neither he nor any other running back got the ball. So it does show that they've gave him a little bit more reason to have confidence in giving the ball to him in the red zone. They've obviously, when it's come to 1-yarders and such, they've been willing to give it to Burgess and Willis on occasion, and even Chappell. But when it's been 3, 4, 5 out, they tend to mess around a little bit, and you think maybe that's the direction they might hit more when they've got chances.
They continue to show a lot of wildcat in the red zone, which I think they opened all but maybe one drive in the red zone in the wildcat formation against Michigan. Indication that they probably want a guy who's a little bit more fleet of foot than Chappell. But then again, you're taking away the option of a pass. It just kind of makes them a little one-dimensional. Clearly, what they want to do is run the ball. They want Darius Willis to run the ball on first down and get 5 yards. And that's how they really want to attack it. It's just a question of whether you can do that against teams like Michigan and Ohio State when they're going to stack and it's going to be some great athletes trying to stop you.
No, obviously, I think they might have been able to go to it a little bit more than they did against Michigan. Now, it might be harder against Ohio State. I mean, Michigan's this year not necessarily, known for having the greatest defense in the world. They've given up a few points to some other teams. Now, Ohio State hasn't given up a point since, USC, and they held them down pretty good, too. So it's not going to be even as easy to move the ball on Ohio State as it was to move it on Michigan last week. So it might be a more difficult thing to do.
Right. Bill Lynch said after the game that you watch Ohio State, watch the film of them, and they're just solid. They're where they need to be, have great athletes who are quick to the ball, but just know how to play. They're there, and it's hard to find a weakness. Lynch said, we watch 4 games of a team. We're going to find a weakness. We're going to find something we want to attack.
Yeah.
Doesn't
necessarily mean you can beat them all the way doing that, but at least you can get some success. And Bill said it's tough to find any place where you can do this. What's interesting about this Ohio State team is you don't have that sort of superstar that you've seen on some Buckeye defenses in the past. The James Laurinaitis, A.J. Hawk, going back to Mike Dawson, some of those guys. And that's kind of become a rallying point for them. I was talking to Doug Worthington yesterday, and he said that they kind of like it that way. There's not a defensive guy where he said that there's pictures of him all over the place. He said there's guys that people might be looking at for the NFL, but there's nobody that everybody's talking about.
It's a little bit of a no-name defense.
Right. So and they've all kind of come together. It's interesting. You even look at their stats. Their highest tackler, I think, is the only guy in the top 35. He's ranked 10th in the Big Ten, Brian Roll. He's the only guy in the top 35 that doesn't have 10 solo tackles.
Right.
It means that they're all getting the ball.
Sure.
Basically, like everybody's getting to it. Everybody's flying around with the football, and they're just all like Lynch said, being in the position where they're supposed to be.
Offensively, you talk Ohio State. You talk Terrelle Pryor. I know you did your story on him. I was walking around listening to some interviews and just clearly. This guy has been talked about. He's just a freak. I mean, he's at that LeBron James level where you just watch him play and you're like, okay, are there really humans like this?
Right,
This big and this fast?
Yeah, you just wonder how genetics works that way, that you get to be 6'6", 235 and run a 4.340. It just doesn't.
I suppose at 4.340.
Well, I mean,
but he's fast.
Yeah. I don't think there's any question about that. I mean, no college, a high school 40 is different than a college 40 is different than an NFL 40 as we've often learned seeing recruiting and draft status and all that kind of stuff. But regardless, the man's fast, and he's huge and he's that kind of an athlete.
You talked to the defense about him. What challenges does he present? Maybe what insights did they give you?
Basically what they said was, we've seen guys with this kind of quickness and elusiveness, maybe, but we've never seen a guy that big who has this kind of.
Lynch says he doesn't get tackled. Watch Pryor. You take him out of bounds. You eventually bring him down with 3 or 4 guys, but nobody tackles him.
No, I mean just to straight bring him down. That's a large man moving that fast. It's not easy to do that. I mean, basically like what they've just continued to say is you got to be sound, and that's always the answer. But that's the biggest thing. You got to be in the right place. You got to keep him contained. You can't let him go crazy on you, and you've got to be where you're assigned to be. You can't overrun him let them overrun the play and run that quarterback draw.
Yeah, once again, Indiana's defensive ends are key. They got to play great assignment football. They got to get pressure. They got to stop the run. Indiana's got to stop the run, force Pryor to try to win it through the air, see if that can work.
Right, and he's not a bad passer, but he's obviously not on the. He could get better at that.
Right.
Obviously,
if you're going to pick on him somewhere, that's where you pick on him.
Right. Exactly. There's a lot of improvements he can make there. But yeah, if as Greg Middleton actually said, we have to make him beat us with his arm, so that's going to be the biggest thing I have to do. At the very least, if you're Indiana, you got to be happy that the position that you're most consistently challenged is the ones where you're the strongest.
Right.
And Middleton and Carlew have been great, basically every week that we've seen them. If there's been any two guys on that team really that you could say have played pretty much as well as they could.
Right.
It's those two guys.
All right. Well, thanks for being here tonight. We'll have some more coverage in the coming days. Hope to see you on the Scoop. We have our chat tomorrow at 11 a.m.
That we do.
You can find the link on the Hoosier Scoop. And we'll see you then. Thanks. Take care.